In the grand theater of Greek mythology, the gods of Olympus were figures of awe-inspiring power and profound emotion. Their stories are woven with threads of heroism, love, and tragedy. But some tales are spun from a different fiber entirely, one of such strangeness that they challenge our very understanding of life, birth, and divine justice. This is one such story. It is not about a quest for a golden fleece or the slaying of a great beast. It is the tale of a birth so bizarre it defies biology, and the story of the goddess who sprang forth from it, a being of supreme wisdom who could also be a vessel of terrible, unforgiving pride. This is the story of Athena. Our tale begins not on the battlefield, but with a prophecy, the kind of dreadful foresight that so often set the gods on a path to ruin. Zeus, the mighty king of the gods, had taken a first wife before his famous marriage to Hera. Her name was Metis, and she was a Titaness who personified wisdom and cunning thought. Metis was said to be the wisest of all beings, mortal or divine. Her intelligence was so vast and her counsel so astute that Zeus valued her above all others. He relied on her strategic mind, and together they represented a perfect union of power and intellect. But paradise in the cosmos is a fleeting thing. Gaia, the primordial Earth Mother, delivered a chilling prophecy to her grandson, Zeus. She foretold that while Metis would first bear him a daughter of incredible wisdom, the second child she conceived would be a son, a god destined to be so powerful that he would one day overthrow his own father. For Zeus, this was the ultimate terror. He had lived this story before, but from the other side. He himself had overthrown his own father, the Titan Cronus, who in turn had overthrown his father Uranus. The cycle of patricide was the great, repeating fear of the divine kings, and Zeus was determined that the cycle would end with him. He could not simply cast Metis aside or destroy her, for her wisdom was now integral to his rule. So, in his paranoia, he devised a plan that was as cunning as it was cruel, a trick worthy of Metis herself. He decided he would not just defeat the prophecy, but consume it. He approached his pregnant wife with a playful demeanor, engaging her in a light-hearted game of transformation. He flattered her, praising her skill at changing her shape, and then challenged her to demonstrate this power by turning herself into smaller and smaller creatures. Metis, unsuspecting, obliged. Finally, Zeus challenged her to become something truly tiny, as small as a fly. As soon as she took on the minuscule form, Zeus acted. In one swift movement, he opened his mouth and swallowed the fly, and with it, his wife Metis and their unborn child. He roared in triumph, believing he had achieved the impossible. He had outsmarted fate itself. By absorbing Metis, he had not only taken her immense wisdom directly into his own being, but he had also imprisoned the unborn son of the prophecy within his own body, ensuring he would never see the light of day. For a time, it seemed his terrible plan had worked. The cosmos was at peace, and his rule was secure. But the seed of destiny, once planted, cannot be so easily contained. The child of Metis, the daughter foretold by Gaia, continued to grow, not in a womb, but within the mind of the king of the gods himself. Soon, Zeus began to suffer from a headache of monumental proportions. It was not a common ailment, but a divine agony, a splitting, pounding pain that radiated from within his skull. It grew in intensity until the mighty Zeus, who could command the thunder, was reduced to roaring in pain across the heavens. No god or goddess possessed a cure for his mysterious affliction. The pain became so unbearable that it felt as if something was fighting to get out from inside his very consciousness. He staggered across Mount Olympus, desperate for any relief from the torment that was consuming him. In his desperation, he called for his son, Hephaestus, the master smith and god of the forge. Hephaestus was known for his mighty axe, a tool so strong it could cleave through any substance in creation. Zeus had a desperate, unthinkable request. He commanded Hephaestus to take his axe and strike him directly on the head. He ordered his son to split open his divine skull, as it was the only way he could imagine to release the agonizing pressure that was building within. Hephaestus, though terrified, obeyed his father's roaring command. He lifted his great axe, swung it with all his might, and brought it down upon the crown of Zeus's head. The skull of the king of the gods split open, but it was not blood or ichor that emerged. From the fissure in Zeus's head sprang forth a sight that stunned the assembled gods into silence. It was Athena, emerging not as an infant, but as a fully grown woman. She was magnificent and terrible to behold, clad in shining full battle armor. She brandished a sharp spear in one hand and a shield in the other. As she burst into the world from her father's mind, she let out a powerful, piercing war cry, a sound so mighty that it caused the earth to tremble and the heavens to shake in response. This was the birth of Pallas Athena, the goddess of wisdom, strategic warfare, courage, and crafts. Born directly from the mind of the king of the gods, she was his favorite and most trusted child, a being of pure intellect and martial prowess, with no mother to claim her but the swallowed goddess of wisdom herself. Athena was revered for her logic, her patronage of heroes, and her guidance in matters of justice and civilization. However, born from such a violent and prideful act, she also possessed a fierce and sometimes terrifying pride of her own. She did not suffer fools, and she certainly did not tolerate mortals who dared to challenge her divine authority. This brings us to the tale of a young mortal woman named Arachne. She was a weaver from the land of Lydia, and her skill with the loom and thread was so extraordinary that it was said to be supernatural. People would come from all over just to watch her nimble fingers work. Arachne knew how gifted she was, and her pride swelled into dangerous arrogance. She began to boast openly that her skill was not a gift from the gods, but was all her own. She went even further, claiming that her ability at the loom surpassed even that of Athena, the very goddess of weaving and crafts. This hubris reached the ears of Athena on Mount Olympus. Angered, but willing to show mercy, the goddess descended to earth disguised as a frail old woman. She approached Arachne and gently cautioned her, advising her to be humble and to ask for the goddess's forgiveness for her foolish boasts. Arachne, full of youthful arrogance, scoffed at the old woman's advice. She rudely dismissed the warning and, with contempt in her voice, declared that if Athena was so great, she should appear and face her in a weaving contest to prove it. At that, the old woman's disguise melted away, revealing the powerful, stern goddess in all her glory. Athena accepted the foolish mortal's challenge. 2 looms were set up, and the most famous weaving contest in mythology began. Athena's tapestry was a work of divine majesty. She wove a magnificent scene depicting the glory of the Olympian gods, with herself and Poseidon in the center, vying for control of the city of Athens. In the corners, she added smaller scenes showing the terrible fates of mortals who had dared to defy the gods. It was both a masterpiece and a warning. Arachne, for her part, poured all of her skill and defiance into her work. Her tapestry was breathtakingly beautiful, its technique so flawless that it seemed alive. But its subject matter was a direct and calculated insult to her divine opponent. She had woven a series of scenes depicting the gods not in their glory, but in their most shameful moments. She portrayed Zeus and the other gods in their many scandalous affairs and deceptions, exposing their flaws for all to see. It was a masterpiece of both skill and sacrilege. Athena inspected Arachne's work and, though she could find no fault in the technique, she was consumed by a divine rage. The flawless skill combined with the insolent and disrespectful subject matter was too much to bear. In her fury, she destroyed Arachne's tapestry and shattered her loom. Arachne, seeing her life's work destroyed and finally understanding the terrifying gravity of her actions, was filled with despair and shame. She fled and tried to hang herself from a tree. But Athena's punishment was not to be so simple as death. As Arachne hung from the rope, Athena intervened with a cruel form of pity. She transformed the girl, her body shrinking and her fingers elongating into spindly legs. She cursed Arachne and all her descendants to hang and weave for all eternity. She had turned the world's greatest weaver into the world's first spider.